Welcome to the Seller Roundtable e-commerce coaching and business strategies with Andy Arnott and Amy Wees.
So one of the things that I've been testing a lot on my own account and getting some pretty interesting results from, and I'm interested if you guys are doing that at all, is day parting. Are you guys doing any day parting for your clients, or
we are not?
Have you tested that at all?
We have not. I actually got into a pretty long discussion with someone about that today in one of the groups. And the reason we haven't tested it is because we don't want to leave those sales on the table. And one of the things that kind of makes me weary of the method is that at AdCon this last month, Amazon released a statement that most sales driven from PPC happen like 4 to 5 days after the click. So if we're optimizing based on the click, I mean, we don't really know when they're converting on that sale. Like, it just depends. So it's like, we all know the issues in lag and the data reporting on Amazon. So I don't think there's a really clear method to correlate when a click happens, when the best conversion is for a click, because you don't know if the sale is going to happen at the moment or 4 to 5 days from now.
Yeah, that's a interesting point. Yeah, so we've been testing it a lot, and we're also doing some kind of advanced stuff by with bidding, different parts of the day and things like that. And there's some interesting data there. I've also heard about like, oh, you can't pause your campaigns, otherwise you're going to lose clicks, and and I'm telling you guys right now that's not true. I've tested it thoroughly on my own account. You can pause and unpause all you want. It's not going to affect the campaign. In terms of it working or not working anymore. Just throwing that out there. So on that note, that's kind of a more advanced tactic and conversation, which you and I could probably have, but we might perplex the audience. Any tips you want to give new Amazon sellers who are just starting to get into PPC? A lot of what's crazy is in this day and age, there's still a lot of sellers not even using PPC, which once again is leaving money on the table. Yep. But any tips for new Amazon sellers just starting out? How to get their foot into PPC?
Yeah, for sure. I would say like one of the biggest things is don't overcomplicate it. Start with the basics. Don't try to start layering on display, retargeting, all these different fun tips and tricks and tools. Get a foundational understanding of what's going on, and then invest in the time and invest in the data. It's kind of what we talked about at the very beginning, is it takes a lot of data. And how I always put it in just perspective with people is Amazon recommends 18 or 20 clicks before making a bid adjustment. We operate at that 14 to 16 range. So just keeping that in mind, if you're running 10 keywords and you're waiting to get 20 clicks and it's $1 CPC, you could have $200 worth of spend, no sales, and technically not have enough data to still make a decision. So that's kind of goes back to what we talked about, is people freak out, see that high ACOS and pause the campaign, when in reality, they don't have enough data. And if you don't have the money to invest $200 immediately, you better be launching a smaller batch of keywords. Start with 5 keywords, start with lower bids. It's kind of risky to go in and just launch with a ton of keywords because you're going to see a spike in ACOS almost no matter what. So that's kind of the biggest thing, is to really think it through, break it down like from that backwards perspective, and figure out how many keywords you can have based off your bids or what the suggested bid is and relevant to your budget.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that, like you said, that's where auto campaigns and even broad match comes in, when you're first starting out to get that data. Yeah, that's a great point. In terms of, headline ads, product targeting ads, so many sellers are not utilizing those two, ad types. And to me, it's like, once again, leaving so much money on the table because so many people don't want to invest the time, and it's like over their head. And they think it's like this crazy, complicated thing, but in reality, it's very, very similar. But what do you think people are doing wrong in terms of headline ads and product targeting ads besides not running them?
I think, like you said, you called it out perfectly, that they're overcomplicating it. I always recommend running your sponsored brands in tangent with your sponsored products. So all the keywords that are converting on the sponsored product side, put them in a sponsored brands campaign. It's really not that complicated. You literally just add your ASINs similar to what you would with sponsored products, upload an image for the first style, which technically you can upload a product image or a brand logo or drive to a store page. There's some differentiating strategy there. and then bid on the relevant keywords. And then something that we always recommend doing, which really increases conversion, is aligning the copy in the headline with the keywords you're bidding on. Like, for example, let's say you sell pet toys. Now, if you have a general pet toy headline and all of your pet toys are in there, cat and dog, and you're targeting the keywords pet toys, make sure your headline calls out premium pet toys for all animals. Now, let's say you only want to put cat toys in that headline. Don't keep it as premium pet toys for all animals. Put your cat products in that headline and make sure your copy's aligned with that. The easiest thing to do is throw up one general headline for all of your products, all of your targeting. It decreases conversion. Like, if a consumer types in something about cat toys and then sees a headline about cat toys, they're way more likely to convert. Another quick tip is don't drive people to a store page unless it's a branded campaign. So now if they're looking for Coca-Cola or let's see, like Johnson & Johnson have a ton of products, a big variety, then you could drive them to your store page because a consumer's looking for something more broad, any Johnson & Johnson products. They want to see your full line. But if they're looking for something specific like Johnson & Johnson bath soap, drive them to a landing page with just bath soap. If you give a consumer the option to see all these other choices, it's going to be paralysis by overanalysis, and they're way less likely to convert. Send them to a landing page. Don't give them any other choice. Let them be able to purchase with one click.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point.
That's one of the biggest things we see.
Yeah, that's a great point. And like you were saying, there's only so much time in the day, so you might not be able to spin up, a headline ad with the target keyword for all of your keywords, but pick out like the top 5. We do that especially during the holidays. We have some holiday keywords that we target pretty hard, and we always include it in the copy. And yeah, I mean, that's what people need to see that visually to be like, oh yeah, that's what I'm looking for. I mean, that's why. I wish that Amazon, and I'm sure they're working on it, because I feel like they just log into AdWords and see like, oh, that's a good idea, let's do that.
Cool.
But dynamic keywords, so like in AdWords, if you guys use AdWords, you can put a keyword flag and it'll automatically pull a keyword into that ad. I'm hoping that Amazon has that someday, so we can just spin up one ad and get that relevancy and that targeting. But until then, that's fantastic advice. Not only that, but test the main image, like Destaney was saying. You can do either a product, or you can do a logo, or you can even do we've tested like a lifestyle image. Like, try everything.
Yep.
Once again, it's all about testing. And in terms of Amazon, some of the most successful sellers I meet are the ones who are turning dials all the time. Whether it's their PPC, whether it's their SEO, whether it's whatever it is. Don't be afraid to test, because that's where you're going to end up, tripping onto something that, somebody else isn't using, or you haven't heard about, that might be working really well in terms of, your brand or your sales. Yeah,
100%. And then related to product display ads, one of the biggest mistakes I see there is people also run them and leave them. Those need to be updated pretty frequently, because if you think about it, rank changes all the time, and you always want to be targeting the people that are on page 1, maybe page 2, but really who goes to page 2. So if you're targeting a list of 20 people on page 1, a month from now, that 20 people is going to change. It's going to be updated. So update your product display ads. That way you can maintain the same strong impressions. Utilize them for coupons. If you're running coupons, you can run product display ads that actually have a coupon cutout. I've only seen this on the advertising console side, but it's really cool. It says like $7 off and has a coupon cut out, and it's right under the buy box. These obviously convert really well. Pro tip, they'll get rejected if you don't set the time between your coupon range. So if your coupon what am I trying to look for? If your coupon ends in December and you have your end date for like past December, it's going to get rejected because they're going to say you're advertising out of the window. So make sure you have the window for your coupon aligned with the product display ad in order to get the coupon cut out.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point. Now, one thing that I see all the time, and once again makes me laugh out loud, is you see in these groups about people being like, yeah, I'm on page 1 for that keyword, so should I turn off my PPC?
Don't even get me started. I just wrote a really long article about Coke in this methodology.
Yeah.
That's kind of the worst thing you can do. If you've ever scrolled on mobile, even on desktop, the first thing you see is the headline ad and the 2 sponsored placements, 2 to 3 sponsored placements. Like, it doesn't matter if you're ranked number 1, you're still not at the top of the page. So if you're not advertising in those placements, a competitor is winning market share. Even if it's a crappy listing that's winning those placements, there's a good chance that someone's on mobile, they see it, it's within their price point, they click on it. Make sure you are running those ad types, not only for placements and just the consumer visualization, but organic, indexation, ranking, all of those things are related to PPC. So don't do that. And besides that, if you're already ranked on number 1 for that keyword, your conversion rate on the ad side is probably going to be pretty good. So invest in it. It's the price to pay. Like, make sure you're investing in it.
Yeah, absolutely. I like to use the analogy similar to like you were using earlier. If you were walking to a store and you go into an aisle, and it's shelves, would you want to be on 3 of those shelves or just 1? To me, it's like you have if you're got the headline ad, then you got the sponsored product ad, then you got like the organic, if you're in the top 3, you have 3 chances now to convert that person who is searching for that exact product. So to me, that's an investment worth making. And like you said, you're also keeping your competitors from moving into that space and taking market share away from you.
Something else you can do as well is if you have any variations, run them all in separate sponsored products campaigns targeting the same keywords, so you're more likely, like you said, to show up in all those placements. We also run product display ads in the same methodology, with our variants are targeting our other variants. For 1, protective reasons, so that way competitors aren't there. And for 2, so a consumer can see our full product line without actually clicking into all the tiles. It shows up under the buy box, underneath the bullet. It's like, it looks great.
Yeah, so many people don't do that brand protection, bidding on your own related products to keep competitors out. Yeah, that's a fantastic point. On that note, I just took a note about to discuss this, are brand targeting. So many people don't do this, even just bidding on your own brand name. Like, so many people don't do this. And we do this. And once again, this is where we get the unicorn ACOS of like 3%. And a lot of people would say, well, but they're looking for you already. But once again, you're protecting your search there, because if your competitor is bidding on your brand and they're selling a like product, they might click on that brand's instead and buy theirs instead of buying yours. So, protective play is something, to really think about. The other thing that we love to do that we see very few other sellers doing is competitor brand ads. So just keywords that relate to your competitors. Once again, we see crazy good ACOS for that. Now, the caveat to that is a lot of times Amazon won't index your product for a competitor's keywords, for a brand name and things like that. There's some ways you can get around that, which is a whole nother podcast. But Destaney, are you guys targeting competitors? And if so, how are you doing it?
Yeah, 100%. So like you said, indexation is always an issue, but there are different ways around that to kind of trick the indexation. But a good scenario we have is we have a pretty dominant brand in the baby category. And we actually had another brand in and copied to a T our listing, our imagery. They literally took our imagery, changed the colors, and posted it. And they tried to launch this new product. So the first thing I did is launch product display ads on every single one of their variations. And then I ran that in alignment with sponsored brands and sponsored products ads. Now, with product display ads and sponsored brands ads on Advertising Console, you have the opportunity to write a content call out of your competitive advantage. So that's really what I focused on. Is I looked at all of our competitors, where do we have an advantage, whether it be price point, whether it just be product reviews, and you kind of find a creative way to work that into the content. Yes, you may get a rejection for not following the guidelines, but as long as you're not writing something ridiculous, it's going to be a one-time flag. Keep testing, keep pushing the limits till you get something good accepted, and then make sure you're targeting your competitors because they're going to be targeting your placements. So with this specific scenario, we're operating at under a 20% ACOS right now, which is pretty cool. And this brand is going to really struggle to scale when anytime someone searches for their name, they see our product with upwards of 1,000 reviews versus this new launch with under 30 reviews. Like, it's common sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And you make a good point there. And this is something we do all the time is typical Amazon. It's just like opening seller support tickets. If somebody boots something the first time, try it again because
Yes.
the next person might approve it. So, what
Yeah.
we'll do is if we have something in there that's maybe a little, sketchy or, maybe not perfectly within the realm of acceptable to Amazon, we'll just change, a few things, resubmit it, and then we'll get the approval. So, definitely something that you can try to do.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. All right. Well, guys who are joining us, guys and girls who are joining us live, if you guys have any questions, I know we've kind of like went fast and furious here, and Destiny and I are kind of on a higher level when it comes to PPC. So this is all like, we could do this in our sleep, but we covered some advanced stuff here. So if you guys have any follow-up, to what we've talked about, or if you guys have any more questions for Destiny, please go ahead and drop those in the chat. Anything we didn't cover today, Destiny, that you want to share?
Nothing too crazy. I mean, we can always touch base on retargeting ads. What I've seen there, video and search beta is supposed to be rolled out in December. I know closed beta has already been rolled out in accounts. So if you see that, I'm really jealous. Open beta will hit in December. This will be a fantastic opportunity. Everyone needs to be creating video creatives. One, for your listing, it increases conversion. Two, this is a brand new ad type. So you want to get as much data as possible early on. And that's how you win market share. You test, you play around with these kind of funny new things. Retargeting, for example, it's off platform, terrible conversion so far. But if you have the money to invest, run it for $5, low bid, collect data. The algorithm's only going to get better. It's no harm, no foul to keep it in the background, make sure it's collecting data at $1 to $5 a day, like one click a day. Hey, it's better than nothing. So things like that are things that we need to look for and make sure we're preparing accounts for.
Yeah, see, I think because of our ad spend, we get invited to all the betas, which is always fun. We didn't get invited to video yet, which is interesting. But we have like history just got enabled in our account, and
Yes.
we've had sponsored display for like over a year. And I tested it a bunch, and it is terrible. But I went back to it. I actually, reduced the bids and pretty much got no impressions on the one I created when the beta first launched. And I went back and did another one. And this one actually is performing decently. But what I'm doing is just to make it easy is I'm just, putting all my products into one basket and retargeting. Because to me, it's like a retargeting ad doesn't really, it doesn't need to, be sectioned off to get great results on that. And then I'm just seeing what products are converting on offsite and what's not, and then just turning off the products that aren't converting, at least for now until it gets better. But like Destiny was saying, Amazon on all these campaigns is using AI to figure out, what's working and what's not working for you, especially on those auto campaigns. Usually those auto campaigns, the longer you let them season, the better they get. I know something we didn't cover too much, Destiny, is dynamic bidding. Have you guys been using that? Have you had success with it? Also the placement adjustments. Have you guys been using that as well? And how are you guys fitting that into your strategy?
For both of those, like the auto campaigns, new targeting as well, I feel like can be added into that.
Yep, absolutely.
One, it's just another lever to pull to make my job more difficult. Yeah. So dynamic bidding, we do all bidding in-house, so I do not play around with that whatsoever. If it converts well, I want to be in control of increasing my bidding. I don't want Amazon to be in control just because we've seen issues with that in the past. It historically does not outperform our in-house software. In terms of placement, top of search typically does really well, but it's one of those situations where you can run a campaign, see what's converting best because they give you that data. And if you see one's a strong leader, increase your top of search, make it 50% higher and see what happens. Test. Auto placement. So something we've been doing recently is breaking out launching 4 auto campaigns, one with loose, one with complimentary, and then the other 2 placements, and turning off the other 3. So we're only focusing one auto campaign on one placement. We do this because same with ad groups and same with if you have 1 million keywords in a campaign, Amazon never distributes your budget evenly. They figure out what one has the highest click-through rate and they pour more budget into that. So we've been breaking out auto campaigns to test every single targeting type separately. But But the biggest thing I can say with those tools is kind of back to our original discussion, where you're going to hear tips and tricks that work well with some accounts. Just test it on your own account and don't do anything crazy and too dynamic up front. Because if you start layering on all these crazy tools like dynamic bidding, 50% top of search, you're really not going to know what works unless you break it down one-to-one and analyze it on its own individual performance.
Yeah, I agree completely. And we did a bunch of testing on that on our own account. At first I launched it and then I told everybody, don't use it. It's not going to work for you. Then I waited then I had a call with one of the guys who's like one of the leads of the team who created that. And I gave him, he's like, why aren't people using it? And I said, well, the early returns are not good. And he like convinced me to re-enable it on my own account to test it more. I did that. And I got mixed results. And kind of what I've landed at is they don't work super well. Like you said, if you're actively managing your bidding, it just makes it harder because you've got something that is arbitrary, between 1 and 100%. I mean, they can change that, on the millisecond if they want to. So trying to keep those bids and your budgets under control while using that is going to be really, really difficult. Now, that being said, if you're going against a competitor, and you're having a really hard time, there's a big battle there. That could be a useful tool. It could also be useful for things like launching or keyword ranking. If you're really trying to hit something hard, it's kind of like, repricing your product, then it could also come in handy to use it for things like that. But overall, it's just going to bring in more complexity, and it's going to be really, really hard to manage your, things like your ACOS if you have those enabled. So completely agree on that one. I think, and the other thing I want to mention too, I don't know how I know you say you're separating, the different auto targeting off. And that's absolutely a smart thing to do. The other thing I was going to say is they are giving you that ability to start from the beginning when you're creating the campaigns to just bid separately on specific ones. My recommendation is not to do that until you get some data, because you don't know which one of those is going to perform the best. That's why when I saw that option, I kind of, laughed, because to me, until you get that data, you could easily hurt yourself. Now, if you're doing like Destiny's doing at the agency, by splitting them up and testing that way, that's also a way to make sure that you're not missing out on, what's actually going to work the best there.
Yeah, I've seen extremely mixed results across those. Like some of, like you would think like complimentary would do really well. And then for one account or one ASIN, it does do really well. Then I hop into another one. I'm like, oh, this doesn't. And like you said, all comes back to the AI. Naming your things loose, complimentary, like it's what is actually the difference. Yep. But like you said, it's AI based. You got to figure out what works best and go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. On that note, let's wrap up. What are your favorite books, podcasts, motivational materials, personal development? I'm always interested in those kinds of things. If you're in the Amazon game or an entrepreneur, you're usually, always learning. So any great things that you want to share that, you've seen lately?
Yeah, for sure. So Delivering Happiness was really good. Really enjoyed that. Two of the biggest calls I have from that are the focus on customer service, which is super aligned with Sam Walton's book, and the focus on don't outsource your core competency. That was really cool call out. And then I really like Shoe Dog.
That's the Zappos book, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yep. That was a good one.
And then Shoe Dog is one of my top favorites, mainly because Nike's my favorite brand. But fail fast is like such an important call out in entrepreneurship. I mean, every day's a roller coaster. There's days where you wake up and you're like in heaven and pumped, but then there's days where it's like, oh my gosh, what's happening? So being able to fail quickly and test and learn, I think, is two of the biggest things I pulled from both of those books. In terms of motivation, so I don't necessarily follow the methodology, but there's nothing like listening to Grant Cardone tell you how you're going to fail because you don't wake up and grind every day. A majority of the methodologies I'm not fully aligned with, but just his motivation, his dedication, and letting him basically tell me that I'm a failure because I didn't work 24 hours a day kind of always gets me back like, oh, yes, I do need to get back to work and get to focusing. So few of those, I kind of like to mix in a lot of different things. Sam Ovens' course was fantastic, really interesting methodologies on automation and efficiencies. And I don't know, between Taylor reads at least like 10 books a week probably and takes I think he's spent like over $200,000 in courses and everything. So thankfully I get like the run up of all of his favorite courses, but that's something we invest in all across the board, is reading, knowledge, courses, and being the best that we can be.
Yeah, absolutely. Always be learning is what I always say.
Yes.
ABL.
Yes.
So what's next for you? Feel free to let people know, what you guys are doing, what you're up to, where they can find you, website, messenger, link, whatever you want to share. Please let people know how they can get in touch.
Definitely. So if you want to follow me on LinkedIn or Facebook, I'm always trying to post as much valuable content as possible. You and I had this conversation before, like, we're not the salesy types. I will never send you a DM saying, hey, you want to hear about this cool hack I have? Drives me insane. So if you want to kind of stay up to industry standards, I'm in accounts every single day, so I usually see changes pretty quickly. Then shoot me a follow or a friend request. And if you're interested in what we're doing at Better AMS, or you just really need to have that conversation of whether or not you should outsource, whether or not it's possible to scale, then check out our agency at betterams.com. We typically focus on like 7 to 9 figure sellers and providing value for anyone who really is trying to drive scale. So feel free to reach out to me, check out the company, and I'll probably see a lot of you in the Facebook groups.
Absolutely. Thank you again, Destaney. And as usual, guys, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Those of you who join us live every week, we really, really appreciate you guys coming on here. It looks like half of our normal crew is over in China with Amy, which is awesome. I'm kind of jealous seeing all the pictures and stuff that they're doing over there.
Yes.
If you guys haven't subscribed yet, we hope that you do. Rate and review if you have the time. We really appreciate that. Let anyone know that who's going to get value out of this. We would really, really appreciate that. Our growth on the podcast has been epic, and we know it's because of you guys. We really, really thank you guys for tuning in and letting people know what we're doing. All right, guys, thank you so much. We will see you next week. If you want to join us live 1 p.m. Pacific time on Tuesdays, and if not, we usually push these out within 2 to 4 weeks, and you can listen to the podcast. All right, guys, thank you so much, and we will see you later.
Thanks for tuning in. Join us every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for live Q&A and bonus content after the recording at sellerroundtable.com. Sponsored by the ultimate software tool for Amazon sales and growth, sellerseo.com and amazingathome.com.